I was actually personally really surprised at how far I could develop my business in Japan with my very limited Japanese abilities. I established Curate here in Japan in 2014. Digital content is used all the way throughout the buying process, from initial marketing teams to sales teams, customer success teams, and then customer support. And what we've done is we've created a new category of platform. It's designed for an entire organization to be able to categorize, curate, and create content and make it easily accessible to everybody in the organization. When it came to establishing a company as a startup in Japan, we found that there is a very vibrant ecosystem in terms of support at the government level, a lot of events oriented around startups. There's a lot of venture capital, especially for early stage companies. And so we found that all of the essential elements that you need were covered by initiatives taking place throughout the country, which just meant that actually the whole starting up and actually doing early business and raising money, pitching our ideas, recruiting, getting support for finance, all of these challenges, which in a different circumstance could have been red flags or blockers, actually made whole business development much smoother. And it allowed us to focus on the most important thing, which is, developing the product. When it comes to innovation, Japanese companies in general are a lot more receptive to innovative ideas. And as a result of that, I see a lot more ambitious startups coming out, even at universities. There's an initial wave of startups, and then now the next generation is standing on their shoulders, and they're becoming more and more ambitious or disruptive. For people considering starting up in Japan, I think you'll find that Japan is very open to overseas founders. We have a presence in the UK, a workforce scattered around the world, but we can definitely operate as a Japanese business with our hub based in Japan.
This has to take the cake. All right, so it all started off with the one only Mike Cornwell, and he retweeted something that maybe you guys saw it, maybe you didn't, maybe you didn't think much about it. Maybe you're like, that sounds cool, but I don't know much. I don't know much about it. Let's basically tie everything together, something we do. So thank you so much. Please smash the like. Let's simply get into the Jasmy segment for you guys tonight. And this may very well be one of the best segments we ever done here. I want you to take it for yourself. Like, draw your own conclusion. Just because I present it to you, don't have the attitude that, that's the end all be all. Draw your own conclusion based off of what I'm sharing with you, right? I try to connect the dots for you guys. I'm also giving you another heads up. I'm having an extremely hard time tonight with my asthma. There's been a lot of dust lately in the Valley of the Sun, and every once in a while I get like an asthma flare up. So if it does seem like I'm kind of struggling to breathe, that's why. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this, and let's start off with this right here. And this comes straight from Mike Cornwell originally. You're not going to see him on this, but he did retweet this. Okay. All right. And I guess originally it came from this guy. So his name is James West, and that sounds very familiar. Oh, I'm thinking James West, right? Anyway, played by Robert Conrad. Some of you guys are old school. Remember that old show? Anyway, he says, we are 198 days to the next Bitcoin halving. Don't you like how I kind of like time that in, right? Had to do it this way. Yes. 2024 date. According to the BTC halving countdown clock, is scheduled to take place at block 840,000, which is predicted to be solved on April 25th, 2024. Okay, so that timeline about spring makes sense. Of course, he even has the time, right? If you want to nerd it out, right? UTC. Bye, right? Jasmy Management, Jasmy. So this guy who is Crypto Alert at My Crypto Alert, he has this. And let's go ahead and just get right into it. Here we go.
Guys, there's a new report, an alert about Jasmy coin, a coin that was developed by the CEO of Sony, talking about integration of this coin within Google. If this becomes official news, this is huge and is going to lead to a huge price bump for Jasmy, which is sitting right now at about a half a penny. I did a full video on it. Check out my video on YouTube, which is in the bio. It's up 10% already just today.
Okay, so that's not obviously today. And obviously, you know, some of you guys probably went and tried to see the report. I mean, if anything, I might go to it myself and, you know, see where it's up to. But I doubt it's, you know, I doubt that Jasmy's up 10% as we speak. Let me just pull this up. Yeah, in fact, it's slightly down. So one thing I want to state is this, right? Utility in motion. We talked about this before on the, you know, I think last time I was with you guys. Utility in motion means just that. It's the actual utility in motion. In this case, a Jasmy personal data locker and so on. Is that really in motion? You get a partnership. All those are positive catalysts. Don't get me wrong, right? It helps complement, you know, and bring out the flavors of the project as tokenizer would state, right? Remember all these key things. Let's jump into if there's actually anything solid to back up what you just heard in that report. Of course, I'm going to do that, right? That's something I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take you to this next part. And it is referenced to this picture that you're going to see from a screenshot. And it's actually pretty blurry. I do apologize for that. But this is what is in reference. And I'll come out of the screen for just a moment. And like it says, you know, Elon Musk is resurrecting a familiar digital payment model. Like it says, X may turn it into user info monetization to fund this novel digital payment service. Now, for many of you guys, you feel as though, well, this is not a big deal. I already know about that. Max, you even talked about, you know, this before about you bragging about that, hey, you can't wait till you get monetized on Twitter because they pay out about double what YouTube does. Right, true. But this report came out August 25th of 2023. And like it says, reports are swirling on social media about Elon Musk leaning into a new, quote, PayPal-like digital payment platform with a huge twist. It would add a user information monetization feature to the platform. Now, what is this? And is this a nothing burger for you? I don't think it is. Now, where I'm going with this is this, okay? I'm not going to BS you. A while back, we were all paying attention to Elon Musk going to Japan. Now, if you're a Jasmy holder, you know already where I'm going with this. And for some people, they may not like this. They don't like me doing this. Max, you're just trying to turn nothing into something. This is all speculation. Okay, I get it. I'm going to show some things, some different links, some different resources, references, and so on. And again, try your own conclusion. Make up your own mind if you think that this is solid. Let's get more into this, obviously. So, for one, there's also this, all right? Again, back to the one and only Mike Cornwell, who retweeted this from Minalagwar. So, both of them, right? Japan greenlights crypto fundraising in a major win. And why point this out? What the heck does this have to do with Google? Well, it's not that it has anything to do with Google, but you got to point it out. Japan, right? Crypto fundraising in major win. Japan greenlights yet another groundbreaking crypto law poised to change the crypto landscape in the region. By changing some groundbreaking laws, you got to keep in mind it attracts other investors. Maybe the likes of Twitter, maybe the likes of Elon Musk. Not saying that's the case. There's a lot of things that happen behind closed doors that we don't know about, right? But in regards to this, you know, here's some of the highlights from it. For one, transformative crypto bill. Did we not talk about a lot of things that were going to happen in regards to Japan and how it's going to affect other areas of the world, right? Other continents like Europe, for crying out loud, European Union, how it's going to affect us in regards to our regulatory framework here in the United States. But that new law will allow startups to raise funds via digital assets. Japan's decision to empower, yes, that's right, empower startups could significantly impact the country's digital asset market. Now, when we get to the end of this outline for tonight, we're going to tie in some things that were brought to our attention from Minalagwar in regards to key players of patents. Now, you may get tired of the whole idea of Kazumasa Sato and patents, and you feel as though I'm just trying to get something more juicy to make a nice video. That's not the case. It's going to be another key person that we recently talked about that brings a lot to the table in regards to patents as well. Jasmy is full of people with lots of different talents and skill sets. Japan's fascination with the crypto industry is rapidly evolving as its government embraces the technology by pushing a series of crypto-friendly laws to propel it towards new heights. Demonstrating its commitment to advancing the crypto sector, Japan has greenlighted yet another groundbreaking law poised to change the crypto landscape, in the region. Okay. Going further down, in a major breakthrough for the crypto landscape, the Japanese government has announced permitting startups and businesses to raise funds by issuing crypto assets instead of traditional stocks. Now, earlier, you saw in the comments, Salamander, BlackRock, XRP. We have talked about this concept that maybe some people just think you're just talking about this because you talk about Jasmy a lot, Max. No, that's not the case. I've presented numerous times that I felt as though Jasmy and Japan could be the one to get us to the promised land first. This is another example of why I state that. So, getting more into this, reflecting Japan's newfound interest in the digital asset space, the new system could have significant implications for the digital currency market in Japan. For instance, startups in the country can now receive investment in the form of crypto assets under the updated investment business limited partnerships framework. And again, when we get to the end of the outline, you'll have a better idea of how even the bigwigs from Jasmy were able to qualify for grants and, if anything, bring their patents to the table. All right, pay attention to that. Stick around for that segment. This new transformative law is expected to substantially expand the pool of potential investors in the country and attract more diverse range of stakeholders. The decision could also boost demand, and listen to this, for digital assets in Japan. Now, we understand that some people feel as though there's other digital assets in Japan. Yes, absolutely. But who was the first to be regulatory compliant in just that, in Japan? You know, again, for people to say Jasmy is a scam, Jasmy scam, right? It's something that's popular that we say around here nowadays. You know, if it's such a scam, then how come they, at every turn of the table, whether it's through the FSA, the JVCEA, and other big players, recognize them as, hey, you know what? Check mark. You guys meet all the requirements for being regulatory compliant. I saw one guy say, well, of course they are regulatory compliant. It's just an ERC20 token. And as the ERC20 token, but you can't talk about what they're going to be in the future. Give me a break, man. Look more into it yourself. All right. On the flip side, Japan's Financial Services Agency, we just talked about, FSA, recently proposed an amendment for the tax code. And of course, we've been studying that and researching that for a while. But it's to exempt domestic companies from the unrealized gains tax on digital assets. Going more into this, despite piling lawsuits, Binance has been working overtime to expand its offerings in Japan. Just because we don't like CZ Binance, right, and so on, right? Some of you guys still do, right? Got to recognize he's a businessman, and he's going to get into places that he feels as though is the best opportunity. Why wouldn't he get into Japan for everything we just recently outlined? Now, like it says, why does this matter, and why should it matter to you? Japan has yet to catch up to other jurisdictions regulating or embracing cryptocurrencies. However, the new law and proposed tax cuts could reshape the crypto landscape in the country and the region. Now, even from the perspective of Mr. Elon Musk, right, somebody who drastically cuts overhead, drastically, goes to measures of sleeping at the Twitter headquarters, for crying out loud. And he's done it in the past with Tesla and other things. Wherever he can cut costs to save his company, he's going to do it. Let that be another key takeaway for tonight's outline. Now, I want to jump into this. And of course, this comes from Twitter. But the point is, for those of you guys who may have been new to Jasmy and have forgotten, you got to come back full circle to the idea of Bijit. So for one, Bijit, Jasmy, and Nagano University's leader, who is Kunitake Ando, like it says, it's his legacy to lead Japan and possibly us to the future promised land. I guess some people kind of take what I say too, right? The promise. Sony believes in him, so does this guy, so do I, right? Of course, people give Kunitake Ando criticism. The guy is like in his late 80s, last I checked. He's not going to be able to come to like, AMAs and all that stuff all the time. He hires people to do that for him, guys like Hara. But of course, Jasmine will get a lot of criticism for that. Getting more into this, I want to pull up some other key things. And this is good research. We're going to give you about roughly, 5 or 6 different links. In my notes, here's something I want to bring up to your attention. Okay? And that is this whole thing about Elon Musk and all of the news and complaints that have been around him for a while now, ever since he acquired Twitter. And one of the big things was, how is Elon Musk going to have to figure out how to protect Japanese and European Union personal data? Right, true. Or will he be forced to exit Japan? And how does that go for like Tesla, SpaceX, the X platform? Japan, as we know, has pretty strict data regulations, and the grace period for corporations to comply is doing what? Is going to end soon. So when we paid attention, and I'm going to show you another screen here in a bit. When we paid attention to the whole concept of, why is Elon Musk going to Japan? A lot of people, they shared their thoughts of it. Mainstream news shared some of the things. But just because he goes over there for one main reason doesn't mean that he couldn't be going there for other reasons that we may not know about. This thing that was outlined in regards to Google, pay attention to that. We're going to jump more into what we have for you guys tonight. So I'm going to share this, and this is going to, again, present some, information where you can draw your own conclusion. But back a while ago, straight from ABC News, there was this, and it states, senators warn Twitter Elon Musk over alleged disregard for what? Data privacy. A lot of times, we were just like, hey, forget this lady, right? And so on. But like, did you see some of this stuff? Did you see some of that mainstream news? I mean, a lot of us pay attention to the community-driven news. So yeah, his disregard for data privacy. I don't think he has disregard for data privacy. I think he just knows a heck of a lot more compared to what she thinks. I mean, obviously, because she has a lot of disregard when it comes to blockchain, DLT. The notice came after the reported resignation of 2 data security executives. When was this? Back in June. Okay. Were you aware of that? Of course, a group of senators went after him publicly on Twitter in regards to data security and privacy. There was mass layoffs. We know about that, right? We remember the history behind it, like everything that happened here. It says, Mr. Musk's behavior reveals an apparent indifference towards Twitter's longstanding legal obligations, which did not disappear when Mr. Musk took over the company, the senator said in the letter. Well, boo-hoo on her, right? Regardless of his personal wealth, Mr. Musk is not exempt from the law, and neither is the company he purchased. I mean, of course, go more into this. But getting more into it, I read more about it, and I thought to myself, was the time he went to Japan, is that really worth pointing out? And I think it really, really is. For one, straight from the Japan Times. Let's jump into this one as well. This was August 18th. And it stated that, a few things, I should say. For one, it said that when he arrived in Japan as an Elon Musk for an unexpected visit back in, August, late August, his first public trip to Japan basically since 2014. Okay, that is significant. That's 9 years. Musk posted on his social media platform X that he just arrived in amazing Japan, adding 2 Japanese flag emojis. The purpose of his trip is not yet clear. Think about this for a second. All right, I'm not saying I know some exclusive news, but again, I'm going to show you a few different sources for you to draw your own conclusion about this. So yeah, trip is not clear, but the space-loving billionaire later posts a series of video clips of the Team Lab Planet's art installation in Tokyo. Goes further down to mention that The details of Musk's travel was not made public, but he has various business interests in Japan. Now, again, rewind to where we were originally at with this outline, okay? And of course, this big thing about like, is there really something in regards to Google and Jasmy? And you better believe at the end of the video, I'll just pound it home that much more. So yes, the country is the second largest market for X. I mean, this guy, he's got a data analytics team, right? I would imagine he does. Any darn billionaire has to, okay? They point out some key things about this. So yes, big second largest market after the United States. The social media platform gained traction in Japan after the massive earthquake and tsunami in March of 2011, proving itself to be useful to the way we share information quickly on disaster damage and relief efforts. Excuse me. But yes, after the mass staff firings in the wake of Musk's takeover of Twitter, now known as X, October last year, users have expressed concern about X's reliability, clouding its future in Japan. A number of prefectures that previously used the platform to post disaster warnings have sought to use other means of communication, including official websites and the messaging app Line. Now, that was another thing that we covered in the past. And of course, I did a whole deep dive about Line. And again, in the past, in regards to some things we obviously cover here, Right, absolutely. So remember when we talked about Line and we talked about that Jasmy connection? So there's that. So again, if you're wondering, am I going to provide you anything solid? That should be something solid. And you can still use that as a point of reference if you're the type of person to nerd this stuff out. A lot of times you guys don't want to do that. You just want the news, and I understand that. I could totally relate. But look at this a little bit more. And again, from the Japan Times. Last year, it was widely reported that Musk had called the platform more Japan-centric than US-centric during a staff meeting. That's worth pointing out. As we get further down into a little bit more about this, it goes on to mentioning that, let's see here. Yes, in June, Defense Minister Yasukaza Hamada revealed that the self-defensive forces have been testing Starlink, SpaceX's satellite internet service, which has been quietly growing in the Asia-Pacific region. Musk's interest in Japan is not only limited to business, he's also a fan of the anime Ghost in the Shell, some of these other things. But your key takeaway should be, why did he go there? And is it because he wanted to find more information from top industry leaders or government or people that are basically, like I mentioned before, industry leaders, such as like somebody like maybe Jasmy, right? That gets the whole concept of respecting personal data. That should be one of your key takeaways once again. Now look at this. To give it, a little bit more substance to this outline. This comes from TechCrunch.com 2022 edition, but listen to this. This is late 2022. Again, I really want to pound this home. I don't want to just give you one link. I want you to draw your own conclusion about this. So reports of Musk forcing tracking ads on Twitter put him on a costly collision course, of course, like it says, with EU privacy laws. Let me turn this thing down real quick. So EU privacy laws. What have we learned the last few months in regards to following everything about Taro Kono? He literally, Taro Kono from Japan went to the European Union to talk about what? Privacy laws. Funny how that works out, right? So again, when was this though? December 14, 2022. But again, a reference back to Elon Musk. So, Twitter's lead privacy regulator in the European Union is being kept very busy indeed by Elon Musk's erratic piloting on the Bird site. Call it what you want, right? I'm not getting into that. But this part about ads is worth, something that you want to pay attention to. So, following a report by Platform which suggests Musk is planning to force users to accept personalized advertising unless they pay for a subscription service, which, as we know, is Twitter Blue. I'm using it as well. This is going to, do all sorts of things. Like it says, the Irish Data Protection Commission told us is reviewing the matter. This adds to a growing pile of data protection concerns piling up on his desk. So again, the reason why I show you guys some of the old links and different references and so on, I want you to establish, or I should say, I'm trying to help you establish like a case for it here, right? For why he went to Japan. I just want you to, think outside the box, right? That's something we always do here. Think outside the box, draw the connections and so on. So I do think that since, if I'm Elon Musk and I am literally getting, a pile of this paperwork stacking up on here, it's like, when do I address the ongoing concern? You know what I mean? We show you different time frames, different sources, different links and so on. So it says, let's call these the real Twitter files. All right. Musk providing access to Twitter systems to non-staff reporters, all this stuff. But again, it leads all back to data protection, data privacy, data. And as we know, with what we've been studying and researching in regards to Jasmy, you better believe they stand ahead of the pack when it comes to data privacy and respecting those laws by being regulatory compliant and having connections to key, decision makers like who? Genki Oda, right? You know where I've gone with this, right? I think maybe people are tired of hearing me talk about Genki Oda. I don't know. But like it says, this whole part of the streamlined situation with the DPC leading oversight of its compliance with the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, aka the GDPR. And remember, we talked about GDPR for a while now. And this is regards to whether Twitter has adequate compliance staff and appropriate resources. So again, back to the whole thing about compliance. Your staff here in the United States might not know data compliance at all. Who better to train that staff? Again, do you want to go to where they know this stuff like the back of their head? Why wouldn't you go to Japan? And you know what? Something that is not going to be reported from mainstream news is what? They're just going to report Elon Musk going. They're not going to report, oh, he brought his whole staff, because maybe the staff always goes with him, period. All right? Just think outside the box. Let's get more into this. Yeah, he said, he took an axe to the company, right? Twitter's lead EU watchdog for data protection has fresh questions for Musk. So he has to be regulatory compliant, not just, of course, in the United States and so on, but this is Twitter. This is, the World Wide Web. You have to be compliant in all jurisdictions or all over the world, especially in areas where everyone's using your platform. Are we oblivious to think that, the United States and Japan's the only platforms? There's Canada, there's obviously other countries all over Europe. So yes, he has to realize that he has to take hold of the problem by understanding what the problem is. Now, jumping into the next part. Look at this. The top here. The amount of data, and this comes from Insider. We've referenced Insider before. Let me just double check on it. I'm still here with you guys because I see some connection problems. Excuse me. So yes, Insider. We referenced them, like I said, many times before. This was originally sourced from April 17, 2022, but this is good stuff. The amount of data Elon Musk would have access to if he privatized Twitter cannot be compared to anything that has ever existed. Let's see here. Researcher, this is good stuff. These are some highlights. Researchers said that one person controlling Twitter would be incompatible with democracy. Again, what's Jasmy all about, right? Data democracy. I mean, sometimes the words are literally right in your face, right? Unregulated data collection means the social media industry holds sway over real world events. This is a disaster, and it's not only about Elon Musk, but he kind of puts it on steroids, it says. Of course, there's this whole thing about it, and so I'm not going to get into all of it, but I'm going to jump down to this part, actually. Let's see here. Social media platforms can influence public opinion and lead to changed behaviors. Yes. This lady said that people in control of the sites hold tremendous amount of power. Absolutely. I think Elon Musk is to the point where he's so rich, he's passionate about certain things, right? Putting that power in the hands of a single person, she said, would be compatible with what? Democracy. Or in this case, in Japan, data democratization. There are simply no checks and balances from any internal or external force, is what this person told the Washington Post in regards back to Elon Musk and Twitter. This is a disaster, and it's not only about Elon Musk, but he kind of puts it on steroids. So yes, it's like him not recognizing that, look, you have a big social media platform. Are you going to be just like the likes of Meta? Are you going to be just like the likes of some of these other platforms and so on, as just centralize the data? Or are you actually going to recognize the new era that we're going to enter into? Yes, that's my answer. Yes, he does recognize that. How does he recognize it? You already see it literally before your eyes. Are we forgetting that literally X is something that he developed since, I guess, the late 90s, right? We went back into the Wayback Time Machine, do it yourself, right? It basically shows his vision to make the X platform, a payment rail platform. This is where I even saw like Crypto Hulk, he put out a thing. It mentioned that is it very well possible that Elon Musk was like, a pioneer of, cryptocurrency or the concepts of cryptocurrency. Maybe, maybe not, right? But when you go back into that, X.com Wayback Time Machine, you see some of the things mentioned there. It makes you wonder, right? So is this something solid? That's what I want to know from you guys. And I think that he does recognize that, look, the next big wave of what we're entering into, the next era, is definitely Web3. You have seen reports of even Google recognizing that, look, even though they're a top centralized entity, it is going to get to the point where they even have to recognize innovative technologies in the world and so on, or they will get left behind too. So is Elon Musk going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to get left behind with this? No, absolutely not. He's going to recognize that, hey, I need to meet up with the industry leaders that really get this stuff. And for you, for a Jasmy holder, if that is the case and this ends up being confirmed, when we talk about that risk to reward ratio, that would be massive. Absolutely, completely massive. Now, partnerships, yes, can raise the price of certain cryptocurrencies and so on. We know that. But will it necessarily cause things to go parabolic? Not necessarily, right? Especially in a bear market. But you better believe we're not going to dismiss Google. Now, just a little bit more, because I always say I always got a little bit more, but I always try to bring as much as I can to this. This comes from USA Today. And what's important is, again, multiple outlets recognizing the problem in regards to Twitter or X platform and data. All right. So look what's shared here. Okay. Musk's Twitter takeover raises more questions than answers about data privacy. So, I mean, at every single turn of the table, basically speaking, you do see this whole thing of, the data privacy problem and how he needs to recognize it. If you have multiple outlets literally talking about this all the time, and you have a team of people saying, hey, look, we're hey, are we trending? Yeah, we're trending, but trending in a bad light. You need Mr. Musk to address this data privacy concern you have. And it's not just, in regards to the United States in the future, it's these other platforms. Mr. Musk, Japan is your second largest market. Okay, why is that a big deal? I'm just saying, pretend you're Elon Musk. Well, sir, it's a big deal because that is an area where they're all about data compliance and so on, right? Well, what's this thing, DFFT? Well, let me educate you on it. All right, he starts reading up about it and so on. You better believe he reads up on all this stuff. This guy's like one of the smartest, richest people in the world. I'm just saying, think about it. I honestly think he went over to there for more than, what the mainstream media might think it is. Because as we know, the mainstream media, they only report on certain things like the mainstream stuff, right? Are they really going to report on Jasmy, something they don't even know about and so on? I'm just saying, look at the whole thing outside the box, right? So there's a little thing here, and Musk plans to turn Twitter into an everything app. We already saw that. right? And again, the Wayback Time Machine basically shows that. But look what it says also in regards to the Everything app. Have one concern top of mind: data privacy. Data privacy. Japan. Right, regulations, regulatory compliance. Interesting. So, I mean, are we really going to be naive? I'm just saying that there is no possibility that, this company that is at the forefront of regulatory compliance is there. Because, I mean, my thing is this: if this guy knows about Dogecoin and promotes Dogecoin, which he has, right? He probably still is. So he knows about that, right? Which would start off as a joke. You're trying to tell me he goes all the way over to Japan, learns all about this stuff about data privacy and compliance and so on, and nobody at any point says to him, Mr. Musk, there's this company named Jasmy, right? They specialize in personal data management. They have this thing called a personal data locker. And oh, by the way, the reason why I'm bringing this to you, sir, is because they were the first to become regulatory compliant in Japan. And oh, by the way, they have a great thing going on, for instance, with this company called Bajit. They have a key partnership with Google. On top of that, they have this guy that they're connected to, Genki Oda. Oh, I've heard of Genki Oda. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Isn't that guy? He's a chairman of SBI Japan. Yes, that's the guy. Isn't he the guy also responsible back in, 2016 of blanketing all of Japan with a bunch of Bitcoin BTC ATMs? Yes, that's the same guy. Oh, says here that he is part of JVCEA as a decision maker. Yes. Give me a meeting with these Jasmy people. I'm just saying, like, I mean, we don't obviously know this for sure. I don't know this for sure, but I am looking at it from perspective. If I had a position like that, I would want to first talk about who are these people that were the first to be regulatory compliant, and who are the ones that literally lead the charge for simply that: personal data management. All right, we talked about Bajit, okay? Have you forgotten about Bajit? Because you want to know something? I think we have. And going over to here, we do see that the Bajit site has been updated. So what is this? Well, like it says, a global IT consulting leader. Now, if you're brand new to all this, this is good for you. For all the people who've been following Jasmy for a while, you already know about Bajit. Bajit has grown as a global organization of 750 plus engineers and developers as a trusted IT partner for valued clients such as Google, Panasonic, Sony, and many more. Getting more into this, it says that they specialize at providing IT solutions to global industries. 750 plus skilled engineers and developers working in offshore and onshore and nearshore teams. Getting to the About page, let's take it right now, because I'm not going to get you through the whole Bajit site, because many of you guys have been there. Kazumasa Sato. He's part of what? The leadership team. Have people forgotten about this? Maybe you're brand new to this. Welcome. Glad to have you. But look at this. Kazumasa Sato, board of director, chairman of Bajit Inc. And, I don't have the image ready, but at least we showed you the whole thing in regards to Google, right? They used to have an image of Google, but I mean, literally says Google. So my thing is, all these countries they're part of, some of these achievements, serving over 50 Fortune 500 companies, 21 years in the business. Bajit believes in respecting, embracing what? Cross-cultural and cross-linguistic diversity, clients from different countries such as Japan, Europe, the United States. So they're a big deal, and they've always been a big deal. And, the way I look at it is, even this, right? Silicon Valley, we understand that they recently got that, or I should say recently got the office. They had the office. That's another deep dive episode, all right? When we talked about that before. But I think all of this is a big deal. And in closing, just to kind of put the icing on the cake, because we did talk about the whole thing of Google and all this stuff. Back to Menno Aguar, all right? This is a follow-up. He loved my explanation of what? Sony Society 5.0, Felica, all that stuff. We talked about Tadashi Morita's Felica. So back to the beginning of the outline. Yes, that guy. Like it says, Jasmy's true plug to Society 5.0. Special shout out to NeoX Tricks as well as Mena Laguar. But he's got some good information, like he says, to add. Did you know, like he says, my friend, that Marita is one of the inventors of Felica and inventor of DC microgrid tech. He is one of the not talk telecom geniuses. And here's some proof in regards to the patents that he's worked on. It's 200 plus patents, and he's leaded the groups. And of course, I said this is a nice outline. I want to share it with you guys. We always share the many patents of some of these key players from Jasmy, right? Kazumasa Sato especially. But what about this guy, Marita? So for one, from Justia Patents is the reference, just in case you're like, can you give me a reference? That's where it's from. Power path information generation device method for generating power path information in a computer program. Abstract, a system that acquires information indicating a variation in voltage corresponding to each of a plurality of nodes connected to a direct current DC line and identifies topology of the plurality of nodes connected to the DC line based on the acquired information indicating the variation in voltage corresponding to each of the plurality nodes. Sounds like I just read it over and over. But the key thing is, where does it show the original time it was applied for? September 30th, 2015. When was the publication date? July 20th, 2017. Who was the applicant? Sony Corporation. And who was the inventor? Tadashi Morita. Who is Tadashi Morita? He's part of the Jasmy executive team, the leadership team over at Jasmy. So again, pounding it home that much more, that Sony connection. Another thing I want to show you. This other one, right? Again, it's just a similar thing, right? Sony Corporation, Tadashi Morita. You see it all right there. Data patent, a little bit more recent, October 29th of 2019. So there is that, right? And we could get more and more into this all the time. But again, I want you to pay attention to this part because at the very beginning of the outline, we talked about the concept of grants, right? That's why we, Mike Cornwell retweeted that whole thing about Japan and, some of these incentives and so on. So who would be, a great example of grants and acting upon grants? Well, obviously Jasmy, but also we see Jasmy has grants for building up their own ecosystem. So look at this. All right. This was all the way back in 1992. All right. Now it seems like a long time, but the point is what you see here, that Mr. Morita is also part of those inventors that came up with, these grants. What grant was this? It was to have a vessel, a smooth muscle relaxation activity, as well as, I don't know, it's this other stuff, right? That I don't really quite understand, but they're always, a grant was provided and these guys, invented something. Again, these guys are always doing something for the future societies and so on. Even though these patents date way back, it's well pointing, excuse me. I'm glad to point out to you, right? It's worth drawing your attention to. And again, it's just grant after grant after grant. And again, Tadashi Morita. I mean, this date, even how about something recent? 2012 was when it filed. Who's the signee? Sony Corporation. Data patent, 2016. Originally filed 2012. Again, takes time to get stuff done. How about this other one? Tadashi Morita, Sony Corporation. Again, back to that DC line. So, there's countless examples of this guy coming up with inventions and in response to grants. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Draw your own conclusion. I think there might be something in regards to all of this, especially when it comes to the Google connection. Google is moving more into the path of recognizing decentralization and so on. They have to. They don't want to be like, AOL, Time Warner, and so on. If you're not innovative, you are going to get swallowed up. Right. Recognize all these guys, what they're tied into, connect the dots. That's something that we do here all the time. And with that said, that concludes our coverage for Jasmy tonight for you. Quite the outline. Let me know what you think in that regard. Did Elon Musk truly go over to Japan just because he wanted to visit there? And it's kind of a cool place to go. I don't think so. He wasn't there for 9 years. There's a reason why. He has to address the data privacy problems he has. Who better to do it than the industry leaders that have been doing it for a while, and especially where they're trying to take their company to the next level. And I think the Jasmy, Google, Elon Musk connection could be something solid. Do you think it's real, or do you think this is just a giant nothing burger? It's okay. Let me know what you think in the comments.